Hey, Booze. Welcome to episode 17 of the Young Monarchs podcast. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube, listening on one of our platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening, like, share, leave comments, let me know what you think. I'm super excited that you guys are keep listening and the podcast has been getting tons of great feedback. Today I'm joined by Brianna Nicole, who is a former YouTuber, social media influencer, model. She has her own business that she just started a month ago, and I'm super excited to talk to her today. We have a lot planned for this episode, but be sure to check it out and see you guys soon. Hey Bree, how are you doing today? I know you've already been talking for a minute, so it's like now we're starting over again.
Right.
So I just wanted to start by saying like how I found you. I was getting ready to do my first photo shoot, putting together my portfolio, and
Mhm.
I was just like, I don't know how to stand, I don't know how to look, I don't know how I need to put my face. Let me just get on YouTube real quick. And
Yeah.
your video was like the first one that came up, and after I watched it, and I realized like we had a lot of similarities. Like you're very tall, like same kind of build, going for the like going for like plus size modeling, and I was kind
Mhm.
of nervous, and I was just like, I don't know now how like I'll be perceived when there's so many beautiful curvy girls in the world. Like what do people look for? What do agencies look for? Um, so I just kind of like dove deep all into your YouTube channel. I think I watched all the modeling videos that night to get me ready for the next day. But I just love the content that you were creating. I love the like
Yeah.
all the videos you had, like the vlogs in the city. So I'm super excited that you're on today's episode.
That's so exciting to hear. I love hearing that. Like, oh my gosh.
So I guess we can go ahead and jump into the episode. We every episode we start with a boss shit segment, which is pretty much where we share crazy stories of what women are doing, boss things they're doing, or just like crazy ass stories of starring women. But like with everything going on outside, I wanted to use this time to pretty much talk about your boss shit story of how you got to where you are, how you created your channel, your business, and everything that you're doing.
So I mean, I always look back on it and reflect and like just seeing like where my family specifically comes from on both sides. We come from a small town in Texas. And like I said, because of military, we found our way to Virginia. And um I had always wanted to be a model. I was that kid that was like always in the limelight. I'm like, let me sing you a song. Let me model for you. Let me do this. Like, I just wanted to be like a celebrity, like in the limelight. And so, I always grew up like Miss Thickums, and you know, plus size modeling is like relatively new. And with that being said, like I growing up, there's no such thing as like plus size modeling. It was always the idea of like you had to lose so much weight, and in my case, so much weight
Yeah.
to fit into what what we call straight size modeling is. And it wasn't until I like fell into an opportunity with Barbizon, and some people know about Barbizon, some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people think it's a scam. I don't know. I went through it, but I fell into that, and that was kind of like when like, and from my opinion, I think like Charlotte Russe and Forever 21 were like the first retailers to really put out like
Yeah.
plus clothing or whatever. And so from there I kind of got hope. And this was probably like, this was my freshman year of college. This was going into college. And then I ended up, I guess it just like became so much more popular, especially in like New York and LA and whatnot. You
Yeah.
had people like Ashley Graham, like really like setting milestones and whatnot. And so I think that kind of like just like spiraled
Yeah.
the plus size modeling um, community. And I ended up finding, well, actually got denied by an agency. I came all the way up to New York
Mm-hmm.
for one night. My grandparents drove me up here and we met with them. They said that I was not their type, basically, and to
Mhm.
stick to Virginia Beach modeling, which is
Okay.
not a thing. Like, and then I found my agency and I got signed and I moved up to New Jersey with my boyfriend at the time in August of 2016. So right after my sophomore year of college.
Okay. So
And
did you transfer schools too, or how did you?
yes, yeah. So I was originally going to Old Dominion University. That university has my whole entire heart. I was so sad when I left. And actually, a lot of my friends were saying, like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, whatever. I was like, I'm a model. I don't care what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting signed in January of 2016. I got signed like literally 2 days before my semester started. So I had to go back and just live out that spring semester. Like when I tell you I was feeling myself,
Mhm.
especially like, if you know the area of like 757, like that whole like Hampton Roads area.
Mhm.
So many people are artists, musicians, creatives, models, whatever. And the fact that I'm like, I'm signed in New York. Like I was just
I'm
so
getting the fuck out of here in a second.
right. Like I'm just like, whatever. I'm leaving. So I ended up transferring a lot of times. I transferred my first university up to Pace University in the city. I was like so stuck on living there, and ultimately I'm glad I didn't end up actually moving into the city.
Yeah.
And then I went to Keene University for one semester, and then I ended up going to Rutgers University in Newark for my last 2 years, and I just graduated in May 2019. And I ended up getting my degree in sociology with a fine art minor, but the emphasis in art was not necessarily like fine art, but I had been studying graphic design, painting, like literally anything I could get my hands on. And then I guess with all of that going on, sorry,
Yeah.
with all of that going on, I ended up I guess that's kind of why I am like transitioning to like what I really want to do, because modeling is cool, but it just kind of feels like a dream that I accomplished. It's kind of like, what's next?
Yeah. So your dream was to be signed, and that's exactly what you got.
Right. I got signed. I've been able to work with amazing companies. I've accomplished personal goals
Yeah.
that I, that I had, but it's kind of like what else is out there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that I had like I had always been interested in art, but I didn't even know until I started just exploring in college, all the art classes that I was taking. And then I realized like, wow, this is something that I really, really like.
Yeah.
And so my focus kind of shifted a little bit after that. And then it was like this like battle between what exactly is it that I'm here to do, because I sacrificed so much to come up here and model.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also like, but I really like this. And it was really hard
Yeah.
to kind of like break up from modeling, but I still do it here and there.
Yeah. And it's always something like if whenever like the interest pops up or the opportunity is like you're there and you already like established yourself in it.
Right, right. Because at this point, I'm like 4 years in the game. I'm still with my same agency. I'm still signed. And
Yeah.
like you said, if the opportunity is there and I'm free and I feel like modeling, then I can always
Right.
go and do it. So,
And that's like kind of what we're talking about today is kind of like how we came to have this image of ourselves and how the image that we have of ourselves now started from the time that we were born. So
mhm,
like growing up in Black households, I know it's kind of like it's so interesting because I played golf all through high school and danced. So I was
mhm,
always in like white households, Indian households a lot. And
mhm,
just seeing like how different it was from how I grew up or how like me and my cousins or family interacted. I
right,
I noticed like I noticed that I love my people. Like when I go into places and there's just like Black people all around, it's like wow, because I'm so not used to it. I'm used to being like the only brown skinned girl in the group
mhm,
playing golf, the only little Black girl in this house full of white people. So
Right.
when I'm around Black people, I kind of feel like, hey guys, like I'm so happy
Yeah.
you're here.
I feel you on that because in the North, you don't get that really. And like, because of course, like growing up in the South, there were always spaces that Black people had.
hmm
Coming up here, people, it's not necessarily like you have a space for African Americans. It's like you have a space if you're African, you have a space if you're from the islands, you have a space like
Yeah.
and people really like they really like go towards that certain identity, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just
Yeah.
like definitely missing from like what I'm used to.
hmm
Definitely.
So what is it? I know, like, what was your story of just kind of like growing up and like growing up and being who you were, like as me being a little Black girl growing up down here, my mother is very like by the book and she don't play no games. So she's like, you need to be quiet, you need to be polite, you need to be
Yeah.
presentable, always be pretty. Um, all these different things, which I absolutely don't regret her way of teaching like me and my sister how to be women, because when I'm 27 now looking at just other people around me, and I know like I am somebody's wife one day because she told
Yeah.
me to be polite and she told me to be this. But at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like I struggle with showing the world who I am outside of being polite or being pretty.
Right.
And then when it came to just me growing in my body image, my mother is very like very tall, very skinny. My
Mm-hmm.
sister is very tall, very skinny. My dad's family is very curvy, very thick. So
Yeah.
I'm the one who got all that. So I got like too skinny and then this curvy little girl and then with my dad.
Yeah.
His way of making sure that I was like healthy and of making sure that I was taking care of my body um was kind of harsh. But thinking about all of his teachings, they were a little harsh and I was real sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so it hit me differently. But he knew I was sensitive and he would always be like, why are you always crying? Why are you always like being so sensitive when I'm saying like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to get in shape. You need to be this. And I think for me, because I was so sensitive, I took it all as like, oh, there's something wrong with being curvy. Oh, there's something wrong with being thick. And
Yeah.
he would say like smart shit sometimes, like, no man is gonna marry you if you can't even like get it together. Like you gotta look like this or look like that. And
Yeah.
then that started a whole bunch of problems when it comes to like, oh, no man wants me to be curvy.
Yeah.
And it is like it's so interesting to where now accepting Black women for who they are, like the curvy, the thicker, the
Mm-hmm.
voluptuous beauty that we really have,
Mm-hmm.
so acceptable now, but it wasn't when we were like, when
Younger.
I was like just starting. I started gaining a lot of weight in like fifth grade. Was the
Yeah.
last time I remember I was like this in fifth grade, and
Yeah.
after that, I don't know what happened. But
Definitely.
it was
I
like,
remember like there was like I think this was in fourth grade for me, but we ended up having like everyone had to go to the office and get like not vitals, but like everyone had to go and get their like weight checked and whatever.
yeah.
This was like back when they were doing like scoliosis testing, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I remember I came back and like everyone was talking about their weight, and I remember I was like 114, and I was like, no one's number was around that, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow. Like that's when I kind of first realized like, oh, there's a big difference. And
Mm-hmm.
it's noticeable as well. But it wasn't that I was necessarily like super overweight. I was taller than everyone else. I wore bigger shoe size than everyone else. My
Yeah.
frame was just bigger.
Yeah.
And that kind of played into a lot of it. Definitely.
Because like you can't, and I don't blame anything on like our European style of doing things, but like going to the doctor and
Mm-hmm.
say like, oh, you're 5'8", but you're like almost 200. That's so bad. You need to be 150 at
Mm-hmm.
5'8" or once the 140. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, look at my wrist. Like my wrist is bigger than your wrist. My
Right.
knee is bigger than your knee. Like no matter how much weight I lose, these thighs is gonna touch. Like what do you want me to do?
At this point, if I lose, let's say if you're like you say, if you're around 200 and you want me to get down to 150, you want me to lose 50 pounds. Like at this point, that's not going to look healthy or feel healthy either. And like, what would I need to do to get down to that? Like, what measures would I have to take to get down to that weight? So like,
Yeah.
it's kind of super unrealistic.
And like for me, even though like in my household, I kind of felt not bad. I didn't feel ugly either. I don't know what the exact feeling it was. I just knew I was like something I was doing was wrong. But at the same time, it was like when I went to go visit my family in Cleveland, my dad's family, they're all curvy. They're all super thick. They're all like absolutely beautiful women. So being there, I was just like, ain't nothing wrong with me. Like I don't care what you say.
Right.
Like there's nothing wrong with me. So I'm glad that like I had that balance. But it was interesting like seeing like every black woman in this family is curvy and you're telling me that that's not okay.
Right.
And then it's like, well, what is okay?
Right. And like I still battle those thoughts now too, because I walk around and be like, why am I so pressed to really lose this weight in this amount of time or whatever else? Because like there's really nothing wrong with me besides, I guess, like, I don't know, you kind of get like disappointed because you get like stuck in your ways and you're just
Yeah.
like I don't feel good or whatever. But then you go through times where you're like, dang, like this looks good on me. Like I'm bomb. Like,
Yeah.
and I know like a lot of people associate like confidence with my channel and with like my name. And like as much as I love that, I don't want people to ever think that I don't have a bad day
Mm-hmm.
and that I don't go through like episodes where I'm just like eating so unhealthy. And by unhealthy, I don't mean like fast food, but just like I'm like, oh, I can't believe I really ate like 2 meals today. But that's like normal. Like,
Yeah.
why would I not be eating? What's wrong with being hungry again? But I like really will shame myself. And then I'll wake up the next day and be like, wow, like I want to go do it. Like, like I want more food or whatever, and I won't feel bad at all. So it's like it's really it's a roller coaster. It's a roller
Yeah.
coaster dealing with all this stuff. But I think people who are in their journey, people who haven't begun their journey and they're wanting to, that's definitely something to remember. Like the people that you see on YouTube, Instagram, whatever, that have got their like body transformation done, goal completed, they probably are still struggling with bad days. And
Yeah.
because everything is so filtered, it doesn't look like it.
Right. People only like they only share like the image that they want you to see.
Mm.
So I did want to talk about like our perception, like from growing up in the South and growing up in Black households, like our perception of Black women in general.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like my perception of Black women is that they don't play games. Like that was like
Yeah.
seeing my aunts and seeing my mom like be so like nice, so kind. But as soon as like you get any type of like little sideways, they're like, oh no, like we're
Yeah.
gonna do this now.
Yes.
Loved that strength. I loved like the sassy. I love the how we do our hair so many different ways. How
Yeah.
we're all like similar but like so different at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
I just it's like when I think of Black women, I think like women in general are like super, super strong in their own strength. But it's something about, I guess, just me growing up around Black women and seeing like no matter what, they do not waver. Like they
Yeah.
don't waver, they don't fall, they don't show any type of weakness.
Yeah.
And
I
I
definitely I fell in love with that. Like I fell in love with that so much that it like inspired me to learn more. And that I think that's where it stemmed from. Like I was telling you, the the love I have for like Black history. I have love for Black history in general, like African American history, but to know the stories of like women, that's what I'm like super interested in, because I'm like, okay, I see what, because I was raised primarily by my grandma, and I see what she was able to accomplish leaving this small town, leaving an
Mm-hmm.
abusive husband, leaving an abusive like family environment. Even if that sounds crazy, like I love my family, but it's
Yeah.
just some things were so crippling because for generations we've been in this one little town, and this is all we know, and these
Yeah.
ideologies have been passed down to us. And so the fact that she was able to go to the military and go overseas and see so many different countries, she's been able to kind of like adopt other mindsets that really helped like me growing up, because she, like I said, she raised me, my mom, my aunt, like literally I just see that and I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to be like you when I grow up. But she'd be like, I want to be like you when I grow up. And it's like so crazy how unwavering we are. Like it's I just love it so much. Like you could shake us a little bit, but when it comes to like totally knocking us off our feet, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's not. And in a way, like I speak about this a lot because I can see a lot of it in my my drive and my work ethic, is that sometimes I don't know how to turn it off. And like I was just talking to someone the other day about it, where like I literally get anxiety when I think about taking naps or something during the day, because there's always something that you could be doing, whether it's like cleaning your bathroom or
Mm-hmm.
like freaking, I don't know, doing so, like if like let's say I could be like designing a logo or something, or always like doing something. I wasn't allowed to take naps growing up. I would like, even if I was watching TV, I wasn't allowed to like lay down. It was never a time to be lazy. It was like go get up and do something. Go for a run or something. Like it was never a downtime. And growing up, I was like, why? Why
Yeah.
don't I get this break? But as an adult, I'm like, dang, look what I accomplished. Like
Yeah.
at such a like younger age too. Like I'm just like, thank you, even though it was hard. Thank you.
Yeah. So in society, we're surrounded by like pictures and videos, social media, and pretty much body image concerns continue to be on the rise in general throughout society. I found a fact that said 96% of women report wanting to change their bodies in some way, which in my opinion, it doesn't show like there's a problem with like female individual self-esteem, but rather like there's a huge disconnect with how we see our bodies because of like social media, TV, and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're so bombarded on what a perfect body is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mix like dating and relationships into it, and then it's like every man has his own different favorite body type.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
what has like your experience and your journey been with kind of tuning out all of that noise and just kind of focusing on how you feel about you?
Oh, it's a long journey. I think that because of the lack of conversations that I had growing up,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of sexuality, in terms of body image, in terms of literally anything that has to do with those two subjects, it kind of made me like grow up trying to figure things out on my own, and I was like very naive. So a lot of the things that I used to do were very fueled by the type of reaction that I think that I would get.
Yeah.
And this is like Facebook, like literally
Mm-hmm.
things like throwbacks. This has been going on for a while. It wasn't until I got tired of people trying to dictate what I ate and how I dressed and stuff. Like I literally got tired of it. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is enough. And then I started realizing that once I started being like, if you don't like it, then goodbye. I don't care. And people are like, whoa. Like, you know, because that's, I don't feel like that's something that they get a response from a lot. Like I feel like people are like, oh, like it's not necessarily like I'm standing up for myself, you can leave if you want to. It's like they kind of just like bow down and they're just like, you know, they're like the, how can I say this, like I can give an example. Like my first love in high school, when I tell you I was so small and I just thought I was the biggest beluga whale in the world. And I was like, yeah, like I wasn't doing anything to work out though. I wasn't doing anything to lose weight. I was just literally complaining, which is that was number one problem right there. And then I remember I went to go and get a burger from Sonic, and I remember I literally can see it in my head. And he was like that if I eat another burger, he's gonna go find a girlfriend that actually like loves her body. Like, yes.
Like, I love my body and I love this burger that's about to be inside.
It was like, first of all, there's nothing wrong with my size. There's nothing wrong with me eating a burger. And if I want to have a steak, I don't eat beef now. But like, if I want to eat that, I'm going to eat that, and you're going to love it or you're going to leave. And at that point, I didn't stick up for him, but he was probably thinking like, okay. I mean, I didn't stick up to him. Yeah. And he was probably thinking like, okay, like this is a normal response that she's gonna back down. And when I started like standing up for myself, they're like, whoa, I actually got like so much more respect, I feel like, in my relationships, because I started like sticking up for my actions, even if they weren't the healthiest or even if they weren't whatever. It was like, but I'm doing it and I want to do it. And if you don't approve or if you don't do it yourself, then goodbye. Like, this is my life. And if you don't fit the puzzle piece, then you don't here.
When you said like how you grew up and you weren't really taught about like sexuality and like body positivity and all that stuff, I feel like it was like the exact same way. Like those were the two things that, thinking about like how I want to talk to my daughters and how I want to like encourage them, those are two things that we're not going to skip over before you leave my house. Like, let's talk about and say like, these are healthy things, these are not healthy things. And it's so interesting because I don't know, so college was my only like dating experience. But I dated boys that honestly didn't have a problem with my body, but because I did, I like projected all those things into the relationship. Yeah. And then like my dad
opening a door too, like if I'm talking about myself a certain way and I'm letting you talk about myself a certain way too, because I'm like, I know, right? Like, you know, like I'm letting you agree with me, and that's not okay.
Yeah, it was like, and it's weird because in the back of my head, I always like, still to this day, I have that thing from my dad of saying like, no man's gonna marry if you're not in shape. So like in all of my relationships, it was like, you know, like you may like you fuck with me, but you don't really fuck with me like that because I'm not like looking like Beyonce yet. Yeah. And it was like those things I projected. I was like, yeah, like you got to be dating somebody else or doing something else because I'm not in shape. Like I never said that, but I more so did like the passive aggressive, like, oh, you must be talking to somebody else. Yeah. Or you must be doing this or doing that. And they just be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But it was like, I'm not looking like Beyonce, so you got to be with somebody else.
Right, exactly.
And I feel you on that. And now it's kind of like, it's like, I'm not gonna say sorry to nobody. Like, if they listen to the podcast, I apologize for being that toxic to you. But it was, now I'm just realizing like it was all me and how I see myself. Because even in my relationship now, it's my longest relationship I've ever been in. And my issues are me projecting how I feel about myself into this relationship. Yeah. As the years have gone by and I've been focusing on myself more, creating things like this for myself, working out to me now, because my job like can get stressful sometimes. It's like, I want to go work out. I want to go to the gym. Yeah. I want to like sweat and pull the waist trainer off and be like, yes, like we got some sweat today. So now it's like I've been holding myself back in life because of how I felt about myself in so many things. Like I would have never started putting together a modeling portfolio until I had a completely flat stomach. and I don't have a completely flat stomach, and I've already done that.
Right.
So it all just shows like
Right.
every not every problem I've ever had was because of how I saw myself, but a lot of them was just
Right.
not being like you are the shit that you actually like aspire to be already.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, in terms of like modeling and putting your portfolio together, like I said, I dealt with that a lot until I started seeing like, okay, there's people like Ashley Graham and whatnot that are like out here and they don't have flat stomachs and they're like showing that they love themselves as well. And I mean, to be honest, as much as I like Ashley Graham and all the other plus models that kind of did it for me back then, they don't do it for me the same way now.
Yeah.
And that's just because of like this self-realization that I came to that like I'm only but so similar to you. And
Yeah.
you brought me to this like you, no shade to her, but like she brought me to this ideology of like, wow, like this is step one, like
Yeah.
someone's actually loving themselves. And then it was like multiple steps that I had to go to that was like kind of thank you, but I'm here now, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of started getting more complicated because she wasn't a brown girl
Yeah.
or of color. She she didn't relate in some ways.
Yeah.
And it's not just shade to her. There's a lot of white girls,
Yeah.
right? White plus models that kind of like created that milestone, but then it's like, all right, this is cool, but like, what else?
Yeah.
You know? So,
Kind of like the idea of what they did, like her, because Ashley Graham is definitely one of the first like plus size models I noticed, and it was like, oh, this beautiful curvy girl that's not considered a beautiful like a model is
mhm,
modeling.
right.
Oh, and then I
Right.
saw like more girls who were curvy, so that's kind of like I feel you when you say that.
Yeah. And then I think like coming up here and too, like once I got signed and I'm like, okay, I'm fully into this industry, there was so much more than what the surface showed. And that is just like in terms of what kind of sizing that goes on. My first couple of jobs, I wore padding in my clothes because I
I
wasn't big
heard
enough.
people saying that.
And a lot of people boycott that actually. They won't work with companies if they do that. I did because I was like, I don't. That was my first job. I didn't really know. And then also the whole idea that like if you're not a size 2 or 4, doesn't matter if you're like a 6 or an 8, you're going up to plus size. It does not matter. Like you
Yeah.
just don't fit there, and you don't fit there either. And it's just that's the part that was like super shady to me because I'm like, why are there these labels and stuff? And I started getting like really, as much as I wanted to be on this journey of like self love, it was so hard because everywhere I turned was like, what's your measurements? Like, what size do you wear? Do you fit these clothes? I was going to fittings. I was going to casting. I was too big here, but I was too small here. My boobs weren't this size there and whatever else. And I was like micromanaging my body, like literally looking at it so closely. And I know that that's not the way I operate at all.
Yeah.
And that, like, stepping away from that was definitely the thing that like helped me the most in terms of my like journey.
So, like, give me a. I want to hear a modeling story.
What kind?
Like, what is it? Like when you say, because so when I first was just like, okay, I can like put my fears aside and go after something that I wanted to do with modeling. I noticed the same thing, like watching so many girls saying like, oh, I had to put padding on even though I was already like maybe a size 12 or a size 14.
Mhm.
And it kind of just made me question more like I I was what's the biggest size I wore? I was a 16, then I went to a 14 and now I'm a 12. But now it's like, well, do I need to gain? Like, do you have to gain weight? Do you have to
Right,
lose weight? Because like that's like really like you're in the middle of this.
right. Definitely. I mean, for me, my biggest size was probably pushing 18, and that was like when I was really trying to get booked. Like I was like, I will eat everything that I
Really?
can. That yes. And I remember like before I ever got signed, and I knew like going into college when I was doing Barbizon, I was like size 10, 12. And I remember there was this girl in my public speaking class, and I remember telling my friend, I'm like, I want to be her size. And she was probably like a size 16, 18. He was like, what? Like, you want to gain weight? And I'm like, yes, because if that means being a model, then that's what I'm going to do. And it's crazy to like put my body at that, like push it to those extremes and just not let it go. Because there's nothing wrong with this size. And I'm currently at 14, 16 right now still. But it's just like, if that wasn't me naturally, why did and I had just lost so much weight too. Like my whole senior year, I was working out so much. And then I just kind of just like, I let that go. I let that go so much. Like all the nutritional stuff that I was doing, working out, just let it go. But I mean, in terms of a story,
It was because of your experiences, like through different castings and things, and like how
I
people.
hadn't been going to castings yet. I had just seen people like Ashley Graham, and I knew I was smaller.
Yeah.
And just from like the little bit of videos that I could find, I was like, okay, this has to change. I ended up going on something called Passport to Discovery, where it's basically like a cruise, and it was through Barbizon too, but it's a cruise, and you go on with like all types of agents from like around the world and whatnot. And I remember meeting up with the agent, and he was like, you need to go downstairs and eat another burger. And I was like, okay, like that's what I have to do. And I just got filled with that stuff. There was no size that I had to be.
Yeah.
But you just kind of get a feel when you start going, like once I moved up here and I started going to castings, yeah, you definitely get a feel. Yeah, my agent has never told me to lose weight or gain weight.
Yeah.
But depending on my weight or my weight, whatever size I was depending on how much or how less I got booked or what castings I went to in the first place. And there's definitely a body type that they're looking for, and that is busty, small waist, big thighs and butt. I've never been busty in my life. In fact, the top half, more than anything, has always been significantly small. Like I'm bottom heavy, definitely. And
So
so
you're saying that's what people are considering plus size models, that like.
yeah.
It's just not really realistic either.
It's really not. And that's where the padding comes into play. Like I put padding primarily in my boobs and then primarily on my hips, never in my butt. I remember my first job, I put 2 paddings in my stomach because it just made me fuller. But that raised controversy though, because if you wanted a size 18, 20 or whatever, why didn't you just book an 18, 20 or whatever size they're looking for? But I've seen a lot of different things in terms of like colorism. I've seen a lot of different things in terms of size, and sizing didn't really affect me too much.
Yeah.
As much as like the colorism that was happening on sets. That's what really gets to me the most. Because like I said, I'm so used to having a black space that when I get on set and I'm the only person of color out of the whole production team, out of all the models and everything, I didn't vibe with that. Like
have you ran into experiences where it's like, I hear from a lot of Black models where they either be like, no, I can do my own makeup or I can do my own hair because I don't want you messing this up. Have you run into that?
So I wish I had that voice when I was like fully into it. My makeup has always looked considerably good. My hair, no. My hair has not had a break since I moved up here. And unfortunately, I never just bought a wig, which is what a lot of Black models do anyways. They end up buying a wig, and then that way if you want to fuck up the wig, then you can fuck that up, but you're not touching my hair. And the reality is a lot of hairstylists on set are white and they've never touched Black hair unless it comes to, oh, I'm booked with a Black model today. And so they're not taking the time to learn how to deal with textured hair.
Yeah.
They don't know how it works. And a lot of times I've had to like kind of step in and be like, that's no, that's gonna do the opposite of what you want, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the only time I've had a story with like makeup is I was working at I was I'm not even gonna say the company, but it was like a maternity company, which is like kind of weird. But they like ended up putting me like a big
Yeah.
or whatever. But it was like around this time of year, like well, like right now we're in quarantine, but like like around this time of year we're starting to get a little bit hot. You spend a little bit more
Yeah.
time outside, so your face is starting to tan from like your winter color and whatnot. And my chest and my back kind of gets splotchy
Mm-hmm.
in between like the seasons when it's like spring to summer. And that was the case that day. And in the sense, like, just put makeup on it, or powder, and just keep it moving. They can fix it post-production anyways.
Yeah.
And the makeup artist that day was like, there's something wrong with your skin. And I'm like, no, that I'm just a tan. So she made a big deal out of it, and she brought the creative director over to look at it. And she's like, just cover it up with makeup, like it's not a big deal. But she just was, you could tell she was trying to make it a big deal.
Yeah. She was like,
And
I just don't want to do this. Or she didn't want you to be in this for some
yeah, exactly. And then she was like really passive aggressive the whole day. And I remember we went to lunch. It was a smaller set or production team. And we went to lunch, and we were sitting outside, and she was like, oh yeah, like the sun just came out, like we're like oh, we burned so easily, I didn't know the sun was gonna be out. And I'm just minding my business, because I'm like, this is not the conversation for me. I don't get burned, so I don't know what you're talking about. But like, I'm just minding my business, eating my lunch. She looks at me, she's like, what about you? And I'm like, what about me? And she's like, do you tan or do you get sunburned? And I'm like, no, I tan like overall. She's like, oh, so you probably try to stay out the sun as much as possible, right?
Like, you want to fight now or later? What's the problem?
We're already outside. We can get it done. So like, it's just kind of things like that. And then also I see, like, I'll be on set and they're playing music, and then they'll assume that I don't want to listen to what they're listening to. And then they're like, what do you want to listen to? And I feel like they're always expecting me to be like, play the blackest black, black, black song you could ever freaking find. And it's not.
I don't like that. I hate when people do stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like they try to make you, it's like you see people try to make you uncomfortable, to where it's kind of like, it becomes funny, like, I see what you're doing.
Right.
It's like, other people might not see what you're doing, but I see what the shade that you're trying to throw at me.
Exactly. So
What do you have tips for people, just women in general, who are like going through their own like self-love and acceptance journey? What are some like top 3 things you do or you tell yourself?
it's not pretty. The journey is not pretty. So to go into it expecting that it's a smooth ride, I think you're going and setting yourself up for failure. It's going to be long. It's going to be hard. It's going to be worth it in the end, though. Definitely. And be gentle with yourself. That's one thing. I take everything I do to, I'm too hard on myself. And like, for example, I like, when it comes to like losing weight and stuff, if I have a day where I don't work out, I'm not gonna like beat myself up. And a lot of times when I beat myself up, I ended up like giving up, because I'm like, dang, that sucked. Like, that sucked that I went through that whole cycle of like feeling like a failure and then beating myself up and like trying to bounce back. And then a third thing, I'm like, what was it? What is the?
It's like what do you do? Like, what are your tips for people who are like maybe struggling in their journey? Like you said, it's not pretty. It'll take time. Be easy.
Yes.
And I feel
Also,
like Black women in general are super hard on themselves. When you said that, like, we're so critical of every part.
Definitely, because we know that people are watching us as close as we're watching ourselves. We don't ever want to feel like we want to always be on our P's and Q's, definitely.
Yeah.
But being like scrutinized by ourselves sucks, but then hearing it from other people too, that sucks as well. But I think the third thing I would say is like, stop taking people's opinions and feelings, like stop taking accountability for that. I always try to like include other people's thoughts and stuff into my head, like, oh no, I'm gonna hurt their feelings or whatever. But learning to say no is okay. Telling somebody you don't want to do something is okay. Telling somebody you do want to do something else, like the thing is that like I found something that really drives me, and that's money. And not in like a crazy like greedy way, but like when you move from your family's house at 19 years old and you move to a place like New York City area, you gotta hustle. You gotta make sure you're doing that. And I realized like I'm taking all these people's opinions into account on what they think of my body, of this action I just did or whatever. And not one of them are paying a single bill. Not one of them is transferring money on Cash App, like nothing. Like nothing. So why am I sitting here thinking, what would they think or whatever?
Yeah.
Or why am I comparing myself? Like people do not care about you. I promise. Like, oh, if I could like tell myself that, like,
I feel like that's where the like being raised to be polite, because I think so much about like how they feel about this, or how would this person feel if I did this or said that. And it's like, really, I don't care. Like now it's like I feel like where I am, it's like I'm tired of being polite. I am tired of being nice to you just because you're right here. And so like now I'm just kind of like I clear my space a lot more to where it's like people who I know like really don't fuck with me like that. I've always been like not like super in their face, but like I can be cool with you and try, like I can be in the same party as you and try to have a conversation and try to like get you to like me. So it's like now if we had the same party, just don't look at me. When you say hi to me, like I thought you didn't like me, you know.
Exactly, definitely. And I think when you put yourself in the limelight, like having a YouTube channel or having a podcast or just being an influencer overall, you're giving people a lot of room to give their opinion. And I think that growing into who Hello Hi Pretty is, like that was something I created to like embody. Because I just started this Instagram like the end of 2018, so it's been it's been like a month. I mean, it's been like a year and a half maybe that I've had it. And I told myself when I created this channel, like, or created this Instagram, was that I needed to be exactly who I wanted to be. So if I wanted to post this, I'm posting it. If I say something, like I'm less about hurting people's feelings and appealing to the mass. And I'm more worried about like, okay, the people who are here for me and understand what I'm saying are going to be here for me. And if you're not really benefiting me. I'm not benefiting you. So what's the point of this exchange? And so when I started, and in my old Instagram, I had it for years. Like that was the Instagram I had in like the beginning of college and high school and whatever. And it was just super dead. And that was the reason why I did that. And then like I told myself, like I said, I'm going to completely have a refresher. And I actually had my YouTube since 2015. Which was like I started it like the semester right before I moved here, I think. So it's been a couple years now, but if you ask, like, I just started considering myself a YouTuber when I started taking my content seriously. And started making videos that were more about what I wanted and less about like, oh, I think people are gonna like this. And I went into it kind of blindsided, but surprisingly, the more I was true to myself, the more love I got from other people.
Yeah. I feel like with me, I started Young Monarchs in November. Took a whole month off because I was just like, I needed to start over. Like, you know, when people, like how you said, it's like be born again, brand new. And I was realizing like the couple times I would try to record when I started the podcast, it just didn't feel like authentic. It didn't feel right. Like my energy wasn't right. Like I just felt all types of off. To where it's like when I took that month off to just be like, stop like really stop caring what
Yeah.
people think, like stop caring how people feel. And a lot of the time, it doesn't really come from like our peers. My wanting to please people, it comes from like my mom, really.
Hmm.
Like me wanting to um, make sure that I'm still the person that she raised me to be, but
Hmm.
at the same time, like I'm also my father's child, so I'm also like determined. Like I also have the desire to tell you how I really feel.
Right.
Regardless of how
Exactly.
you gonna feel, I want to tell you that I don't like this or I like
Right.
this.
Right. And you had said something earlier, and this just reminded me. I was gonna speak on it that like when it comes to literally my image, my sexuality, like everything that I do now, I've lived away from home for a couple years now, and I like have found like when I was trying to basically, I was living a covered life, and that was because I had always been preached about like how bad it was to kind of, I guess, appear sleazy. But in the South, like anything can make you sleazy. Like red lipstick can make you sleazy. Like
Yeah.
literally a lot of things. So I think that like I tested myself a lot, and especially coming up here and being a model. There were times where my agent was like, "Come on, like you came up here for a reason. Like
Yeah.
go do a lingerie shoot." And I'm like, "Oh, that's
Yeah. Like I don't know how mama gonna feel about that.
right." But then I realized, like, okay, this is my life.
Yeah.
Is this is my image. I think that there's a fine line. I think that there's a good mesh that you can create where it's like I'm still that person that I was raised to be in
Yeah.
terms of manners, and I'm still a good-hearted person. But that does not equal like a lot of people think that the two are simultaneously like intertwined. I don't know, like
Yeah.
my manners versus like the image that I put off. Like I could wear bikini pictures all day in my Instagram, and that does not mean my manners are up or down. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people definitely like kind of mix those two, and they don't think that they can like be intertwined.
And I feel like like I said, my mom's being very like by the book and how things should go.
Mm-hmm.
Like she had a big impact on the way I saw my body as well. Cause like my mom's like I got top, bottom, and all that.
Yeah.
So like my mom would always be like pulling my shirts up and pulling my tank tops up. And when like my boobs wouldn't be out, but it's like I have big boobs and she would do it and I would hate it. I would get so mad at her because she would do it wherever we were. And I
Yeah.
used to be like, don't touch me. Like I can't do anything about the fact that I have a larger chest or the
Right.
fact that I have bigger thighs. Like, why do I have to wear turtlenecks in the summertime? Like, why do I have to like make sure my shirt's all the way up to here? Why
Mm-hmm.
can't I wear a shirt right here?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
now it's like that's the exact battle that I'm still going through of knowing that like I know I look good. I know I'm curvy. I like the way that I look. I like the way that I have big boobs, a small waist, and I'm getting some ass these days. Like I like that. But then it's like I want to show people that I want to put on
Right.
my tight dress and like take a picture from any type of angle and
Right.
not feel some type of way or say like, oh, you're trying to do this or you're trying too much. Or it's like, in all actuality, like God made me this curvy. So you might want to take that up with your mans because
Right.
what he wanted you to see from me.
Right. I definitely feel you on that. And I think that like showing up for yourself helps you show up for other people too, because there's like I know like when I was a kid, Raven Simone was so big. Like knowing like, oh wow, like a girl of color, curvy, tall, like
Yeah.
bigger build. And like, but there wasn't too many Raven Simones. Like it was
Mhm.
like that was our pick. And so um like showing up for myself and be like, okay, this is the girl that I needed when I was growing up, I'm able to show up for myself every day and give myself that empowerment, but also for people that I don't even know. And that's why it's like so important for me to grow my engagement and grow my channel
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube specifically, because you can have these conversations with people. And just the way you found my YouTube channel, like that is like still so amazing.
So like so did you do your Instagram before the YouTube channel, or which one came first? Oh, you said
um,
the YouTube channel came first in 2015.
yeah, the YouTube channel came first, and then my current Instagram came in
Okay,
November
okay.
18.
So
Yeah.
what has it been like for you? I know like YouTube, I did my first video on YouTube in like my senior year of college and like deleted that page and never did YouTube again till now. But
Yeah.
what has it been like for you creating your YouTube channel to your social media to now Hello Pretty Media?
The branding is so much better. So much better because, and that really has to do with being way more confident in who I think I am. I believe that life is ever growing, ever
Yeah.
evolving. But I think that all of this kind of set me up to really practice what I was really interested in. I started YouTube because I was interested in it, and I got my first camera when I was 16, like my first DSLR.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super interested in all this stuff, but I just didn't have the determination to like actually go into it. So I didn't know that literally like having the idea like, wow, I want to be a YouTuber, that was something that could like take me anywhere.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where I wanted to go with it. I didn't like, I was just trying to like, oh, makeup's cool. I don't even wear makeup for it. Like I was just trying to like appeal to the masses.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like going from YouTube to Hello Hi Pretty to Hello Pretty Media, I mean, just the name alone is something that was like so dear to me, because the way that I design is very, it's like a fine line between like femininity and like masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I design very bold and very like black and just like
Mm-hmm.
it showed up, like it's like I'm here, you know. But then I love like using colors of like pink and whatnot. So I think that like basically trying to find my brand and what I really thought of like, okay, Hello Hi Pretty, like what is that, what am I, how does that intertwine my YouTube channel? Like I really wanted to help other girls find that as well. And I say girls, but I really like appeal to men too if they want my help. But I think like we were saying earlier, like just falling in love with the determination of like a woman and whatever else, like I really, that's like where I really want to like focus at. And so with that being said, that's really why I just wanted to like help other girls, help other people like create that voice, create that platform, get the confidence to.
What's it been like for you while you're working with so many people? Because this is your officially like your first month, right? Of having
Yeah, I just closed on my first month. Yeah.
And I think I saw your post earlier today where you hit the goal that you said you wanted to hit.
Yes.
So that's all about like you putting action behind your words and like people reaching out to you and all those good things are coming to you. How has like this month been like for you?
This was more testing than anything because I dealt with clients that I knew and that I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
And also I'm trying to learn something. I'm learning as I'm going too. Like I know what I'm capable of, but I've always designed for myself. My chapter of my sorority is different when you're trying to bring someone else's vision into reality.
Mm-hmm.
But with the success that I've had, I think a lot of it was just like, oh, that's cool that I'm working with people. But the main thing that I'm truly inspired by with all this that's going on is like, wow, you did it. Like you have the determination in you. Like I said, I've studied this at school, but it's just one of those things where like entrepreneurship is challenging and scary all in itself. And then to launch this idea that I've always done shit for free.
Yeah.
Like if I needed me, I was like, sure, I got you, sis. Like it was always something. So to just like turn it into like money, and that was another thing I had to deal with too, because it's like I'm currently still setting my prices, but what are my prices?
Yeah.
How do I appeal to a mass but still be like, okay, this is what I stand by? That's so scary within itself. But I was gonna say
That
something.
price sheet will take a while. I did so like I work in like entertainment marketing and like events. So people I've worked with have been like, hey, I need you to like send me prices. So I just want you to work with me in my business. Literally, it took me a month like looking at this Excel sheet, like how much do I charge people
Right.
without people being like, oh hell no. But me still saying like this is the price and I'm not like coming off of this price.
Right. And I think a lot of it, because I'm also religious as well, I think a lot of it was like really just leaning on my faith, because like I've been listening to a lot of speeches about like people's gifts, and with that, your gift is never going to be in vain. You're first of all supposed to do servitude for it first. Like for
Yeah.
instance, saying like my friends, like I would just be like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I didn't know that in the time. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like I'll just
Yeah.
create this little thing for you. But I think now that I was like, okay, I served for my gift and I worked through him. And then now I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to launch. I feel like this is something that's finally what I want to do and that I'm fully in the mind space to do. And I think that's also another reason why I had such a successful first month as well. And I go into like I don't ever see myself working a traditional 9 to 5. I've actually never had a 9 to 5.
Keep that.
And there's pros and cons to this, and I have a lot of ideas that a lot of businesses that I want to like take off the ground as well. But I think my main thing is like trying not to spread myself too thin, because I feel like I'm full of these ideas, but my problem has always been like not focusing on my like gift, I guess. And when you really sit down and just kind of get in that like tunnel vision mind space, and you're like, okay, I'm going to literally, and this was the perfect time to do it because I'm in the house, I'm quarantined, can't do anything, I'm not going out to party, there's no like distractions really. That was like the tunnel vision that I needed. Like, wow, look what I could do my first month, just straightforward like working, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, because I know like what you're saying about like finding finding your real purpose. And I feel like for me and me and my like relationship with my higher power, it's like I still struggle sometimes with like, so I feel like my genuine purpose that he wants me to do is just love people, accept and love people.
Yeah.
So it's like I can do that, but what's like my job purpose? Like what am I supposed to do?
Right. Like what's the
And
medium that'll like let you do that?
yeah, and I feel like that is this, because I've had Young Monarchs as a podcast for 4 years, and I just never like I had the name like Young Monarchs. This is gonna be this, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
But when I like took the time to really like sit down and put like Young Monarchs on a page, like why Young Monarchs? Because I love butterflies, and I feel like butterflies are that transcending to becoming who you're supposed to be. And it's like so many women around the world, we struggle with that. We struggle with the process of becoming who we're supposed to be. So why not like talk to women around the world about like who they are and like how they got to that?
Yeah.
And I'm still like, I don't know if it's like I go back and forth with God and what I'm supposed to do, but I'm always like, is it marketing? Is it modeling? Is it this brand? Like, what am I supposed to focus on? Or can I do all of like these three things? Like, can I juggle this and still be good? It's kind of like where I am. Like, do I have to have one or can I do these three things I'm good at?
Right, exactly. I think that like one thing that I've definitely, like I told you, like in this process of I guess like trying to break up with my modeling career and just like that title, I guess,
Yeah.
is like I was listening to something the other day and basically it was saying like a lot of times God will give you the a lot of times God will let you explore to
Mm-hmm.
bring you to the destination where it's like, okay, now it's time to do what you're here for. But in reality, a lot of times people don't do what they're technically supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like being afraid of whatever their gift is or thinking that it's not reliable or just kind of giving into like society's pressure of like this is the timeline you're technically supposed to be on.
Yeah.
um so
And that's like a whole nother thing of other people who let their fear take over in their
mhm.
projections on you and what you're doing. When in all actuality, like you just have this thing in your heart that's like, I can't not go for this. Like, I don't want to think about, like, well, could I have done this or could I have done that?
Right, exactly. And that's why you have to be so careful with your babies, like your projects, your
Mm-hmm.
ideas, because you don't know who has an evil eye on you. Like you don't know who will be speaking down on who will be preying on your downfall
Yeah.
and or praying to take that over or whatever it is. Like you don't know. And and even besides that, people's fear alone, one little sentence can literally steer someone away from
Mm-hmm.
stopping that because you're afraid of what I'm doing. But in reality, you're not paying a single bill. This goes back to it. You're not paying a single bill. So really, until you are, your opinion.
And it's like they're not afraid of what you're doing. They're mad that you're doing what they couldn't do.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's like, I feel like that's where that little evil comes from. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
um, let me see. I kind of like lost where I was. Okay. So we've already kind of talked about like how you've used your voice and how you've like taken your passion of just wanting to help people tell their stories, wanting to create things for other people. What are like, what I'm trying to say, what is it like? Do you feel like you have to be a role model or do you feel like you live you live in your truth and because you do that, people are automatically drawn to how and what you do?
No, I don't consider myself a role model at all. If someone considers me a role model, that's cool. But
Yeah.
I'm never like, oop, let me censor my cussing. Like I'm not like that at all. And I don't care if you think that I'm this way or that way, whatever it like you can unfollow me. You cannot
Yeah.
there's literally so many people in this world to keep you away from like putting attention on me. Like you don't have to be near me. So I definitely think that I wasn't always like that though. I always felt this like sort of responsibility to be a certain type of way because like I was saying, like becoming that person that you didn't have. But
Yeah.
that's not my responsibility really to take on someone else's insecurities or fears or whatever. It's just kind of like when I'm going through this journey in life and if I can share it with people and people find that inspiring, that's like super dope to me. Like
Yeah.
I love that more than anything. But and I struggle with that too. Like I was telling you, like I was thinking like, oh my gosh, what if I wear this? I'm gonna be like looked at type of way. But and I got like positive feedback from it as well. Like from a lot of girls,
Yeah.
females that follow me. People are like, because you did this, I had the courage to do that, and that's what really like that's what I love, because I'm not here to like I'm so far from like societal norms. I feel like I'm not a traditional person
Yeah.
in a sense, so I feel like I feel like I'm just here to like, if I'm living in my truth, I'm letting people know that you can literally make it and not be in the traditional lane that society tells you to be in, then
Yeah.
that's cool.
I feel like I completely agree with what you're saying. I know it's still like I'm at the end of my like don't look at me as a role model thing. But it's like I'm the oldest of me and my sister. I'm the oldest cousin on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like I've just always been told like people are watching you. Like you gotta do this and you gotta watch what you say because there's little girls watching you, there's boys watching you, there's everybody so just watching you. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like my social media and how I am off screen to like what I share is very like currently is very like pulled back. Like at home, I'm wild, I'm crazy, I am like who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And but what I share is like I don't talk a lot on social media. I don't get on like videos like that and have like conversations like we're having here. So the podcast is like the first place where my cousins or my sister or my mother or father can go to see like because this is where like I'm not gonna watch what I say. I'm gonna say how I feel. And it's kind of like what you were saying. Like this is my test of me, like Young Monarchs is me being exactly that, like me being the butterfly I'm supposed to be, regardless of whose cocoon I came from.
Right, because I feel like be labeling yourself as a role model is putting a label on yourself, like this type of girl is what equals success, and just like living in my truth is only going to empower other people to live in their truth, not my
Mhm.
truth. And I think that's like the main distinction.
Yeah. So I feel like for a lot of times it always goes back to, oh, you have to like make your parents happy and make this happy. And I'm not like a rebel. I'm so like fighting to just be me, like
Yeah,
fighting to just do what I want to do to
yeah,
where like I love my mother. I will do anything for her. I'm gonna buy her everything when I get rich. But she
yeah.
will say like this week to what somebody said earlier. She's like, keep your podcast clean for sponsors and things like that, like no bad language. And my exact response in the text was like, so my podcast is an authentic outlet for women, and I will not control an adult's voice. And that's like, and I feel like that's still where my censoring comes from. I don't want my mother especially to feel like, oh, she didn't do something right. But
Right,
then again, that's her personal feelings on
right,
what
right,
she was felt like she was supposed to do.
right.
But I love that I noticed that in myself, like that fight to where it's like I don't want to be what you want me to be. Like I
Hmm.
want to be what I am.
Yeah,
I
and
love
I think I've had that in me since I was a kid, and I was just literally having a conversation with my aunt, telling her that like as a child it was received as like unruly, but as I got older, it was like, okay, no, this is actually who she is.
yeah.
And like I remember the first couple, like my freshman year, I was like, I have my septum pierced, and I was like, I'm getting my septum pierced. I told my grandma, she's like, no, you're not. I ended up getting it. She couldn't say nothing because in reality I'm an adult. And but I kept it flipped up when I was around her, whatever. Like I respected what she
Mhm.
wished, but then I ended up like moving here and just doing whatever I wanted. I cut my hair when I was 18 up to almost this short. She hated that. I got a hand tattoo, and but at this point she was like, "That's you." Like I'm not even gonna fight you on that anymore. Like you're still my granddaughter, Like I think they have a hard time. I think mother or maternal like
Mhm.
figures in our life overall have a hard time of like letting go, like this is my sweet baby girl, to like, oh, she's an adult, like she can
You
make
can
those
say
decisions.
that again.
Yeah.
I've had,
Seriously.
I've always wanted my nose pierced. And when I was in college, I was probably like a junior in college. I got my nose my nose pierced, and my dad was like, "You gotta take that shit out." My mom was like, "You gotta take it out." I've dyed my hair, and they're like, "You look like a raccoon."
Yeah.
So it's like
I'm
I'm
like,
always like, obviously, I don't have the nose piercing now, but when this is over,
yeah,
I'm getting my nose pierced again because it's what I wanted then.
yeah,
Always, I've always did what I wanted to do and played that rebel, but then it's like, damn, you don't like the nose piercing. Let me take it out.
yeah.
I'm always like, okay, you are my parent. I do want to please you, so I'm gonna
Right,
take it out, even though I paid for it. Like
right.
I'm gonna get tattoos. My first tattoo was on my ribs, and I was scared as fuck, and I was shaking. When my dad saw it, he's like, "This is trash." Like he paid for the whole cover up. So now I have
Oh,
like even more tattoos paid for by him. So it's all like I see when I just say like I'm gonna do this, I might have to do it twice for you to understand like this is something that I'm gonna
yeah,
do for them. But it's like I really like that I have that fight. And I feel like some people don't. And then some people have just always been like, this is it. Like I don't care how you feel.
right. And I think I get a lot more respect for my fight because it doesn't just go with like cosmetic things. It's like, okay, you see that this fight is universal across everything I do, like my work ethic, my drive. Like I'm not
Mhm.
just fighting for this one like what you consider a rebel thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of like left things a little bit like more like, okay, I'm not gonna speak on that because she is an adult, you know.
Yeah.
So,
So we can go ahead and jump into the Get Your Life segment. So
mm-hmm.
for this segment, we pretty much share like what we're doing to get our lives. We
Okay.
share one thing that is going well in our journey, and then one thing that we're still struggling with when it comes to like accepting ourselves and our body positivity that we've been talking about today. And I know for me, one thing that is going well is just me, it's like I've always paid attention to my body, but I'm paying attention to my body in more positive ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waking up in the morning and being like, okay, girl, look at that small waist and those curves. And instead of waking up and being like, damn, I need to go run right now. I'll
Mm-hmm.
still go run, but I'm like, the first thing is like, you're looking good. You're doing good.
Right.
And then one thing I'm still struggling with is that like, to what we were just saying, like being who I am and not censoring anything with it. Like I want to, like I'm proud of my body. I genuinely like love that I'm this curvy. I love it all. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm still like struggling with like taking pictures and sharing my body. I'm the girl that do the pictures from like here up, where it's like, actually, I want you to see my waist and my legs, but I'm
Yeah.
still struggling with like being that sexy, bringing that sensual part of being a woman. Like I'm 27 years old. Like I can be sexy and it'd be
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's what I'm
Right.
struggling with.
Right. I think for me, one thing that's going right is that let's see. I'm like, this is like specifically with like body image and stuff, right?
It can be, or just life in general, whatever you're working on.
Okay, I think one thing that's going right for me is the project, basically living in my truth in terms of my identity outside of being a model.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that I've recently had so much courage to be like, I don't need this to be cool or be the person I am, you know? And I think one thing that I'm struggling with is oh one thing that I'm struggling with, I guess, is as much as I'm confident within myself, and I also too wake up in the morning like, wow, look at myself. But then I I got to my smallest weight around like this time last year, and I haven't gained any pounds, but my body just looks different. And it's like I'm actually on like a fitness journey right now. I'm trying to lose about like 15 to 20 pounds. Like I don't want to really go any smaller, but like I said, my build is always thick anyway, so even losing that pounds like probably just gonna be a tone up or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think right now I'm struggling with the idea of like letting myself kind of.
So for the motivational tea segment, we share either you or me can share some type of like motivational story or message that helps us in our journey, or something that we've just experienced that has really worked well. Which I feel like this entire episode honestly has been motivational tea, like with you talking about everything that you've been started. But do you have any type of positive message that you like to share with people before we end the episode?
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of talked a little bit about it at the beginning, but basically, and I tell people this all the time, if you want something, like go after it. I know it can be like challenging and scary, but really like, are you gonna be more frustrated that you keep getting no's, or are you gonna be more frustrated with yourself that you didn't do what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
So going into that, I guess a story that I could like get, like a little tiny story, is that when I was trying to when I was trying to get a contract, I had been submitting to every agency I could find internationally in the US, whichever coast, it did not matter. And then I ended up getting emailed back from this one agency that's still very popular, and they only do plus size though. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, me and my grandparents, we came up to New York for literally one day, and I went into the office. When I tell you I was so excited, I just knew I was about to get signed. Like, I'm about to be a model. I don't care. And I was so nervous. I went to go take pictures for them in the hallway, and I was just sitting there. They literally treated me like I was a fly on the wall. Like, they didn't even really acknowledge me or anything. It was just like, let's go take pictures, whatever. So then they ended up saying that I was too green and that I should stick to my Virginia Beach market, which is not even a thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be signed in New York or LA. Like, I wanted to be like official. Like, I knew I had this goal to make it. And I went home after they told me to stay in my market, and I kept trying. And like I said, a month later, I ended up getting signed. I came up to New York again for one night and met with my now agent, and she ended up signing me right then and there.
Okay.
But just all of that, like, back and forth and getting that no, like, imagine if I would have stopped, like, like, definitely keep going. And that guy's opinion who said that I was too green and that I should stay in the Virginia Beach market, like, I don't care about him. At the end of the day, like, he didn't do anything to further my career. If anything, he just told me no so I could go exactly where I was meant to be.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's dope. And then now you're going full throttle with your own business. So that's even like everything turns out like way better than we imagine it.
Right.
That's why I try to tell myself that every day when I'm like working on this podcast or when I don't want to work on it. Cause like the podcast is step one of like Young Monarchs, the brand. So it's like this,
Right.
this whole podcast is the test. Like, how do people, not necessarily how do people like it, but how do I feel putting this stuff out? How do I feel like sharing this? And like, there's been times where when I took a whole month off, I could have just stopped, but I've never saw something through to see like what it could be.
Right.
So for like this to be like my solid fourth month, and the podcast is doing like so well, and now I'm making YouTube videos. It's all like just every day, like do something, like do one thing if you don't want to do nothing at all, but just keep going.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel
Definitely.
like you're doing it. So I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. I wanted to give you this time to share like where people can follow you. I don't know if you have any other businesses coming up soon you can talk about or anything like that.
So basically my main Instagram where it's my own personal branding is hello hi pretty. Not hello pretty, not hello I'm pretty. Hello hi pretty. People like get that confused all the time. And then my YouTube channel, you can find that in the link in the bio, but you can always look me up at Brianna Nicole. As for my media company, you can follow that page at Hello Pretty Media, and that's also in my link in the bio if you have problems finding that as well. And as for future businesses, that's just
Well, thank you.
definitely have more things coming though.
Right. And then I saw your necklace. This is the business you have as well. With that
Yes.
their what?
This is so I am taking orders, but I don't necessarily because I'm gonna do a whole rebranding on this, like completely different brand name, everything.
Gotcha.
But I'm still taking orders for it. That is at shop.hellopretty. That's also in my bio. But you can place orders there for the necklace. It's stainless steel, non-tarnished, and I'm definitely adding more to that. But in the meantime, orders can't.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody listening or watching on YouTube. I'm super excited for this podcast. I'm super excited for everything that you have going on. And I really just like love talking to bomb ass women that are doing like exactly what they want to do in their way. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was fun. Doing these episodes are fun. Like I can't wait to like get in the studio and have people come like one on one.
Yes.
That would be good. But thank y'all for listening. Thank you for being on the episode. Everybody listening on the podcast platforms, YouTube. Be sure to tune in next week. I'm not stopping. I gotta be consistent. That's one thing. Like I gotta be consistent. But I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.